Welcome to Business World. On today's episode of BWHotWires, we have with us Mr. Prashanth Doreswamy, the country head of Continental India and managing director also of Continental Automotive India. Welcome to the show, sir. My first question too is, how has COVID impacted your industry and also your company, and how are you able to come out of this? If you can share your thoughts with us.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you, Avishek. Thank you for having me on this show. The unprecedented lockdown in India has certainly brought many challenges related to operations in the automotive industry. I would say it's not only in the automotive industry, across the business spectrum. After the government relaxed the lockdown regulations for the manufacturing companies, we have gradually started to resume our operations since last 1 month. We want to go slow and steady. Currently, we have in excess of about 30% of our workforce at our manufacturing facilities, and partly aided by automation processes that were already in place. That has helped us in a great extent, actually. Our Industry 4.0 standards manufacturing facilities are equipped with various smart factory features, which supported the resumption of work very seamlessly. Apart from resuming the production, I would say our highest priority was to secure the safety and security of our employees. Number two, in terms of securing the supply chain, and number three, in terms of securing the customer requirements. So this has been our priority. On the work from home front, I come from a strong manufacturing operations background. So my entire career, I haven't spent so much of time confined within four walls. For an industry like ours, certainly running operations remotely is not possible, I would say. But you can still do the next best thing possible to this extent, making use of the technology and ensuring as much normalcy as possible with regard to meeting customer demands without putting our people at risk. We had set up long back when it all started, sometime in end of Jan, early February in China. Actually, we had set up what call as a virtual war room meetings. We had started with virtual war room meetings in terms of tracking the project status, supply chain status, employee status, so that we continue even today to run. And it worked like around the clock and worked very seamlessly. A 100% switch to virtual work style is also not possible for companies like us, especially manufacturing-centric companies, but we are considering a significant increase in this going forward wherever possible.
Now that and manufacturing has resumed, so tell us how is Continental dealing with this new resumption of manufacturing and the challenges associated with it?
So now the industry is now in a better position to handle all these challenges because of some of the investments we had done as early as 3-4 years back, actually. So again, coming to the example of Industry 4.0, this has certainly reinvented some of the processes to boost efficiency, productivity, and optimize costs. So what is Industry 4.0? If I had to put you in a very simple definition, it's making use of data to get the visualization of the raw material in the process. Whatever metrics today in the company we follow across all the organization, it's most of a post-mortem. So it has already happened. That's how you track. And based on that, you infer something and you try to take some actions to counter that. Whereas in the Industry 4.0, if you have the availability data on a real-time basis, then you don't allow those mistakes to happen and you can take immediate corrective actions. That's what all Industry 4.0 is all about. So in our company, the first infrastructure for Industry 4.0 is to have this all the equipments connected to a sensor to a central server. So when you are operating, so the data from each of the equipments is fed to a central server, and then you use your own algorithms to make use of this data, send this data, and the output, what you get is some sort of a predictive or a prescriptive output, which is again fed to individual employees, either through smartphones or through handheld tablets or to early warning systems. So if you have that on a real-time basis, then it becomes easy for anybody to take action quickly and not allow the process to deteriorate. So this is how you improve the process. So this is one basic portion of 4.0. So apart from this, you also making use of this data, you can have additional features. For example, okay, there are a lot of things which is done by human beings. For example, can that be replaced by what we call as a cobos, collaborative robots? It's not robots, it's a collaborative robots is called cobo, that much more intelligent, that can work between two human beings. Wherever you see a repetitive nature of work, you can use that person for a better job and replace that with a cobo. And that's what we as a process we started to do. Already we have a couple of cobos running in the line, and we have a plan by end of this year to introduce across many lines, having seen this success. Second is in terms of AGV. So today raw material is fed from A to B manually. So can that be replaced by automated guided vehicles? So based on the early warnings, the data capture, automatically this information can go to an AGV, and AGV goes to a store, picks up the material, comes and drops it to the location where it is intended for. The third is virtual reality. Today you have so much of equipments, imported equipments, and it becomes very difficult with the change in technologies to have somebody trained A to Z in this technology across all equipments. Then what to use is some type of a virtual reality. So even without having that, a person sitting in Germany even with these goggles, he can view as if he is physically present here if something goes wrong, and he can guide a person to fix this thing. So we are using virtual reality. So these are some of the evolutionary techniques what we started to implement in our Bangalore facility.
And also, all these technologies are very good, very cutting edge. It sounds very good, and I'm sure from a management perspective, it is very good. But India being a very labor intensive market, and the government is also pushing in for more jobs. So what's your thoughts on these?
Absolutely no. We are trying to make best use of our human people, resources, I would say. We don't want to call them as a resources, certainly. That's why even our HR function is called human relations and not human resources. So we have a lot of people who understands the domain, a lot of knowledge. Can those people be trained and used in somewhere else in a much better, rather than making them use for a repetitive job? That's what we're trying to replace those sort of works with this automation, but certainly not here to replace the jobs per se. By doing this, you are increasing the competitiveness of that person by training him in other technologies, and this also in turn which will help us to be much more competitive, which in turn help us to reduce our cost, which in help us to improve our sales. So this is a vicious circle. So certainly this is not from the perspective of reducing the people or the jobs per se. This is more towards making best use of our people, and also to add value to what we do.
With the lockdown, companies, OEMs are running short of cash. There's a consumer sentiment is very low. People are avoiding purchasing normal cars, and then electric vehicles are expensive. Yeah. OEMs also have to put in money into research and development. So do you foresee a decline in interest from all the stakeholders in the electric vehicle industry?
Certainly, I think to some extent, EV is going to impact globally the pace of adoption, both electric vehicle adoption and also to some extent the autonomous mobility. Electric vehicle adoption, that's due to again the cost associated with that, and how long some of the countries will be able to give the doles for this EVs. Second is from the autonomous mobility perspective, to some extent, people started to feel that will be considered as a bit of a luxury. So both, I don't think it's going to hamper on a long-term basis, but certainly for the immediate next 1 to 2 years, there could be some amount of slowdown. But we don't see that this impact having forever. After 2 years, we see there's an uptake again coming up in adoption of both these technologies. Maybe for next 1 or 2 years, there could be a small impact going forward.
So it's a known fact that you are a tier 1 auto component supplier to global OEMs, including in India. So what are the key India-specific product lines that you have developed till date, and also going forward? Can we see more India-specific solutions? Also, along with that, you can just talk about upcoming products that you're bringing in the market, if you are willing to share that.
Today's car, if you take a C segment or a D segment car, maybe you take Mercedes C-Class or E-Class, these cars have got at least 100 plus what we call as the electronic control units. You call it an engine control unit, door control unit, light control unit, transmission control unit. So like this, today it's controlled by electronics, right? And the software. So this is moving towards what we call as the domain controllers. So maybe even before we move to a one single server operating system, today in between people are talking about domain controllers like powertrain controller, chassis controller, and the interior controller. So one such product we call ICAS, which we developed for Volkswagen for their ID3 model, which was launched very recently. Can you imagine this controller has got 20 million lines of code, and this controller talks to 70 different ECUs, and all this information goes through this central server. So this is one of the technologies which is the latest and the first of its kind, which we are talking about.
What's the name of the product you said?
It's called ICAS, ICAS.
ICAS, okay. It's already launched or about to be launched.
In Volkswagen ID3, the new vehicle which they're launching. So that's one such product. If I have to give an example of the latest technology, what Conti certainly has developed. Second one, coming to your specific question, what is that for India we have developed? And Continental has been the leading technology company providing solutions to the mobility. We are working continuously on our both automotive and rubber technologies. Under automotive, so far, I would say we have achieved a good success with our both autonomous mobility and safety division, which is called Astral Chassis and Safety. The other one called the Vehicle Networking and Information Business Area, which Astral called the Interior Division. If I have to give you briefly, this VNI, Vehicle Networking Information Business Area, is developing some next-gen technology solutions, services for networking vehicles with drivers and passengers, and also with the other vehicles. So today, vehicle is no more remaining as a vehicle. So vehicle talks to another vehicle, what we call as a V2X technology, vehicle to vehicle. Vehicle can talk to an infrastructure and get then updates from vehicle can talk to an infrastructure. So these are some of the technologies. And also the cloud. And also across various business unit, HMI, which is part of this, is connected, which includes the HMI and the connected car networks, and also the commercial vehicle and services. When it comes to autonomous mobility and safety business area, this area develops, produces, and integrates active and passive safety technologies and control devices, and also controls the complete vehicle dynamics. The focus lies on a high level of system expertise and the interconnectivity of, I would say, individual components. In this way, products and system functions are created along the sort of motto called sense, plan, act chain of effects. First is you sense, then you plan, then you act. So this makes driving safer and easier and paves the way for autonomous mobility. And on the Continental tires and the surface solution side, we also have designed innovative products and solutions for the future mobility. If I have to be specific, for example, on the surface solutions, that's a new plant which we have set up in Pune. which makes an alternative material for the vehicle interiors, which is used on seats, on the door trims, and also on the cockpits. So, which replaces many of the conventional technologies, molding technologies, what we use today. So, those are specific products, so which reduces the weight, and also it increases the durability, and also reduces the cost for the customer by increasing the appeal in terms of the appearance. That's one. If I talk about India-specific actions, then on terms of the ABS technology, ABS and ESC, I would say that we are one of the first to invest in this ABS and ESC technologies way back in 2016, even before the regulations came in. Today, we have a capacity to produce in excess of 2.4 million units. And we didn't stop there. And we also started looking back and how do we do a vertical integration so that we become competitive over a period of time. So as a part of that, after a couple of years, we invested in manufacturing the local electronic control units for this ABS and ESC. Today, ESC is not in regulation, but we already have localized ESC, and we supply some for ESC for some of the customers, including most of the export models, because that's the regulation in other countries, ESC. So those OEMs who are exporting completely built vehicles goes fitted with our electronic stability controls. So that is the other product which I can give example over a period of time how we are able to develop competitively by localizing, including the localization here in India. So these are some of the technologies what we have done so far. Certainly, we are working on some of the other technologies which we could bring to India. When you talk about the technologies, Continental being a technology company, we have a lot of options. But when it comes to India, you all know that it is not so easy. India is a very value-driven market. So the challenge for us is not bringing the technology, but bringing the technology and making it available at an affordable cost. Unless you look at the complete value chain and do this, you will not be able to do a value. So that's our challenge. So we continue to work, invest in terms of localizing many of the value chains in India. That's how we are growing the technology and also making it affordable.
So now ABS is there, ESC is there. There's a lot of safety components which Continental actually manufactures.
Yeah.
But in India, we are not that keen on safety. So we could probably buy a base model of a car without airbags and ABS. So what is your view on the country actually focusing more on safety than just mobility?
I think this fits very well with our motto of having a Vision Zero, what we call as Vision Zero as a part of the Sense Plan Act. Vision Zero is zero fatalities, zero injuries, zero accidents. So all our products are aligning towards our vision of Vision Zero. At the same time, certainly India as a country is also catching up with these technologies, what all this have already been implemented in other parts of the globe. For example, 2 years back, we came with a regulation for the ABS, and now we are talking about the regulation for ESC by 2023, followed by what we call as the AEB, Assisted Emergency Brakes. And we now gone in terms of made it a mandate for the airbags for the frontal crash. Now we are focusing more on the NCAP. I think slowly with the government support, certainly there is a lot of activities going on to enhance the safety of the vehicles and also to enhance the awareness among the public to have this sort of a safe equipment. I think I would say for last 3-4 years, we as a country certainly we have done very well in terms of catching up with some of this technology which has already been implemented. Yes, and we also saw with all this, it also comes with the cost, and over a period of time, there is an impact on the total cost of ownership. But I'm sure all of us will be able to realize over a period of time, the cost of not having the safe equipment is much higher than spending a couple of percentage points with the increased value. I think over a period of time, certainly I think people will realize, and we are on the right path, I would say.
So, I mean, you said about multiple components that you're planning to bring into India.
Yeah.
But, I mean, are they only for the domestic market, or will you be exporting these components? And also, which are the key countries where you're shipping out your products? If you can mention the, key OEMs which you're getting globally from India, and also key markets that you're addressing from India.
In the market, for the market. So that's our big focus. So whatever we do, the focus is for the market. So India is considered as one market. That's how geographically Continental is structured. We have 7 big markets like North America, South America, India, China, ASEAN as a market, Korea, and Japan. These are considered as markets. So with that philosophy, whatever we do, we try to build that complete value chain within the market with the focus of serving the local market. However, based on the demand, based on the applicability, we do consider some of the things getting exported also. So currently, at this point of time, we do continue to export some of our product or many of our products to other, including advanced countries, be it be ABS, be it be ESC, be it be to some extent wheel space sensors, or be it be body control modules for the cars. So we do have an expert, but our main focus has been in the market for the market. See, some of the products which goes as a product to the countries, some of the products goes through our OEM as a completely built units. For example, Renault, Nissan, or Ford, or Volkswagen, they have a lot of, or Maruti Suzuki, they have a lot of products being exported as a CBU. So our products gets fitted into that and goes as CBU. Apart from this, as a product, we do exports to countries like Brazil, countries like Germany, countries like Japan. So certainly we have products which goes as a subsystem or component.
So also you spoke about the R&D center which is developing solutions.
Yeah.
So what kind of activities are happening? Is it developing products from scratch? And if yes, is it only for the local market or for the global market? Is it like a well integrated R&D center which a global company runs? Or is it like a satellite R&D center?
So the R&D what we have here today in India is a part of what we call as an EAT location, Holistic Engineering and Technology location, EAT location. There are 3 such locations globally networked. One is in Romania, in Eastern Europe. The other one is Mexico, and third one is in India. So this location, as I told you already, this is for local, this is for the regional, and this is for the global. So there are a lot of advanced technologies. You know, India has always been a pioneer in the software in terms of the software development, with lot of software content increasing in the vehicles. So we have good amount of teams sitting here in Bangalore, now working for some of the global projects on the software side. So that's one. Second one is, over a period of time, our teams also gained a lot of knowledge, experience, and the execution capabilities. With that, they also gained the responsibility of having the product ownership. For example, some of the product we do have even for the other markets, other advanced markets, a release responsibility, which is not easy to have that sort of responsibility unless you are very well trained and you have proven your capability. So we do have for some of the markets a release responsibility for some of the products. And the third portion is, as I said, since we have a good R&D, they assist us in developing some of the products for the local applications as well. One example, if I have to specifically talk about, for example, HBS, hydraulic brake systems. Our R&D team not only works on products for India, but also extends supports to countries like Japan and Italy. For example, apart from the design and development, our team works on vehicle layout calculation. When we suggest a full brake system that meets the OE's requirements, also keeping the regulations in mind and also the end user requirements. Our R&D is also equipped fully with complete vehicle testing, bench testing. We do a lot of mileage accumulation for some of the products actually. For performance and endurance testing. So our team of designers and developers produce or develop product as per the customer packaging requirement. So brake NVH is one such area, I think, where R&D has achieved a very high level of competencies. With the growing market of electrical vehicles, NVH will be more demanding. So it will come in certainly handy. So these are some of, just to give you one specific example, I talked about the brakes. So like this, we are able to establish the competency over many product lines.
There are a lot of new technologies, and ADAS is a new thing which is there.
Okay.
So, do you think fully autonomous driving, does it have a place in India?
Even before we get into the autonomous applications in India, I think we have a long way to go, because it's not only vehicle being ready. It also requires a lot of driver discipline. It also requires a lot of infrastructural changes. It also requires a lot of changes in the regulations. So autonomous has to work as a, many things has to come together. So from India perspective, I think it is a future version of individual mobility, at least for India, I would say. Having said this, I think India has got a lot of opportunity and scope for at least to start implementing some of the assisted functions, which we call as level 1 functions, which could be cruise control, adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning, could be assisted emergency brakes. Maybe for India specific solutions like ump detection or a pothole detection. So these are some of the things certainly India can adopt even before we go to a next level of adaptation. And globally, if you have to talk, even globally, we are talking about, there are 5 levels of autonomous eras, L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. And even for globally, for advanced countries, we are talking about L2 to L2.5 by 2022. And level 4 is beyond 2025. So from that perspective, certainly, yes, automated driving is the future version of individual mobility, and that's what Continental also strongly believes in, and makes the traffic safer, more efficient, as well as more comfortable. Thereby, it's not only a trend of today, but rather a core element of mobility of tomorrow.
So, you're majorly into automotive components.
Yeah.
So, in order to de-risk your business, would you like to get into non-automotive domains and all, which has some sort of backward linkages with the automotive industry? Yes, if you can talk about that. Also, do you intend to get into consumer-specific products? Like one of your competitors, Bosch, already sells certain products which are sold directly to the consumers, right? Okay. I'm sure you're aware of all those details.
Sure.
So, would you be interested in those, selling it directly to the consumer, some products? And if yes, if you're willing to share with us.
We do supply, we continue to invest in some of the non-automotive products, what we make. For example, one such is what we call as the CBG group as a part of Continental Belt Group. Conveyor Belt Groups, CBG. So we have a plant in Kalyani in Kolkata. We are one of the leading solution providers for transporting raw material in an application like mining or a processing industry. So that's a non-automotive application. So we have a manufacturing facility. Now we are taking to a next level of advancement of this, this transport of raw material, which runs for kilometers, and we'll have innovation to prevent the environment, something called closed loop conveyors. So once the material is laid on the conveyor, then it closes, then there's no environmental pollution while the material is getting transferred over kilometers. So that's one innovative technologies we have. And also we are looking at these are operated in some of the remote areas. So with all the technological advancements, what we have done in terms of artificial intelligence, we are also looking at a remote sensing of this, how efficiently we can run through a remote services. So that's one specific example in India we are already doing. Second one, I talked about the plant which we have just started in Pune for what's called as a part of Contitech, the Continental Surface Solutions. While we have these products for some of the car interiors, we do have some of the products which can go into some of the furnitures and consumer durable products as well. That's number 2. Number 3, when you talk about Contitech again, Sonipat, where we do a lot of rubber products, which gets into the application of non-automotive applications also, industrial applications, industrial application. Yes, and also we are looking at globally some strategy of expanding this mobility strategy from transportation to other effects of mobility. Could be a last mile transportation, could be a last meter transportation, like the robots what we had displayed. So these are some of the things certainly we are already we are into, and we are working on further strengthening this market.
So lastly, what are the new trends in the automotive sector do you foresee? Do you see, some say that personal mobility is going up, some say that shared mobility is going to be on a downhill drive.
Okay.
Like some say, EVs will not be a priority for OEMs and customers. What are the key mega trends that are going to shape the future of mobility post-COVID?
So certainly, I think the future of mobility is shaped by automated, connected, electrified, and shared technologies. I don't think that's going to go down. Over the past few years, the trend has been towards the autonomous mobility. Certainly, even before the COVID-19 pandemic, many countries were already on their way of testing autonomous vehicles. So it's quite feasible that COVID-19, which gave rise to several questions about human contact, continuity of operation, etc., would create a further interest in autonomous mobility also. I know this is a little contrasting to what I said earlier, because this is pushing this by a couple of years. At the same time, these are the opportunities which certainly can help to further gain the interest in the autonomous mobility also. This is another option. So shared mobility might take a backseat for time being, as people are more concerned about sanitization and also the sources of infection. There are also questions about how this will impact public transport. With norms like social distancing coming into picture, two-wheeler might gain popularity over other modes like shared mobility. I think certainly the trends are these two. One is two-wheelers and also the increase in offtake of vehicles. I would say bicycles. Why bicycles? Because many of the parents, they don't want their kids, if at all, if they go back to school, they don't want to go in their crowded vans. And schools can't afford having vans with the social distancing, one kid per seat. So they are looking at, if it is 3-4 kilometers, then why can't you go by cycle? Second one is two-wheelers. Certainly, I think that's the affordability factor, and that's the next possible affordable in India. That's where you see a big uptake in two-wheelers gaining the popularity. People switching because of the fear from public transport and also shared mobility to this. See, another factor is consideration would be how willing people are to invest in vehicles. With the advent of this Euro 6, the cost of most vehicles has risen marginally. There was also an increase a little while ago with the introduction of ABS technology. That's why we see last 2 years we have seen the total cost of ownership certainly increasing by 10 to 15% in the vehicle. While these are necessary additions to a vehicle, the consumer would focus purely on the cost factor. So that's the reason we could see the market not really returning to pre-COVID times very shortly, but it will certainly take time to regain the confidence.